Hi there, my name is Kay Moon and I'm a Western astrologer and Twin Flame channel, and this is a video about the Aquarius full moon taking place on August 19th at 2:25 p.m. If you happen to live on the eastern seaboard of the United States, please check a time zone converter for your local time. Welcome back to another very interesting full moon. This is going to be the twin flame and divine counterpart lunar update. Quick announcement, if you have been thinking about booking a reading with me, now is a great time to do so. The August calendar is filling quite quickly, and this full moon is an extraordinarily pivotal one. You probably are already feeling the influence of this full moon, the Mercury retrograde, and the two eclipses coming on the 17th of September and on the 2nd of October, since we're already under the influence of their impact. If you need some time with me, I strongly recommend at this particular time to book an hour so that we can really look at all of the changes and ways that this is going to impact your life, especially since the eclipse on September 17th is going to start a new eclipse cycle that takes us into 2027. But if you can only do a half hour, I strongly recommend that you book it as soon as you can, given how quickly sessions are filling, so that we can begin to look at how to work with these changes between now and the end of the year, because I'm sure you're already feeling them. My link is below this video, kmunastro.com, and I look forward to speaking with you uh, in the very near future. So let's take a look at this full moon. If you're new here, welcome. This operates as a part two to the Lightworker Energy Update, which is published alongside this one. That Lightworker Energy Update gives in-depth information about how this full moon's energy is going to work, what are the opportunities for growth, and what are the shadow sides that can present themselves. I strongly recommend you listen to that first and come back here and listen to what happens with the divine counterparts second, so that you understand why I'm interpreting the energy the way that I am. Okay. This particular full moon features a fixed grand cross. So here is our full moon. We have an opposition to Mercury retrograde, Vesta, and the Sun. We have a square from Uranus and a square from Pallas. This combination is facilitating a lot of tension when it comes to communication, growth, change, expectations, needs, and in many ways, some of our most important relationships as it deals with our ego. We also see that this full moon hosts a sextile from Chiron and Eris. They're an Aries. And let me make sure I have all of the pieces. What else? Yeah, we have a loose trine here from Mars and Jupiter there in Gemini. All in all, this is talking about this being an extraordinary time of tremendous choices and change. This does look like a very confronting full moon because there's a lot of hastiness and pushiness from Jupiter and Mars, as well as Pluto semi-sextile this full moon. We also see some wounded energy show up here with Chiron and Eris, in addition to this Mercury retrograde, which isn't necessarily making communication smooth, direct, or linear, but is certainly giving us an opportunity to have conversations that have been long overdue. Okay. For greater detail, like I said, I strongly recommend you have a listen to the Lightworker Energy Update so you can understand the full interpretations for this full moon. Let's get into what the divine counterparts are doing at this full moon. I read Juno, the divine feminine energy, wife of Jupiter. Here, she is at that third degree of Libra. She is also conjunct Lilith at the fifth degree of Libra, in addition to being conjunct what we call the shaman's asteroid or Make there at that ninth degree of Libra. And in Libra, she's in one of her home signs. She is, in fact, a higher octave of Venus, where Venus represents the love, the magnetism. Juno represents the marriage and the commitment, the establishment of the contract in the third dimension. We additionally see her square this Pholus series combo, which I go in depth about in the Lightworker Energy Update. And we see her opposite Neptune here. Yeah, she is opposite Neptune there at the last degree of Pisces. What an interesting energy. With Lilith in the mix, Lilith really likes to make sure that she's honored in any interaction she's in. Where Lilith can't have a seat at the table, she's not willing to be near the table. She will walk and move away. And so with Lilith conjunct Juno, Juno has really been in a long-term period of deeper processing through the sign of Virgo about her needs and her desires and what she wants as she's been retrograde in Virgo this year. Now that she's fully out of the retrograde zone and moving forward, and now in a completely different sign, specifically her home sign, we do get an energy in the divine feminine fields, both regardless of the gender you identify as, we do get this energy that speaks to I'm looking for a real partnership, and I'm also looking for the partnership that allows me to be all of me in it. I'm looking to create that. Lilith is really giving her this energy of I have to be honored in order to be engaged in this connection. We see the conjunction to the shaman's asteroid over here, providing a ton of recognition to everything that has been learned up until this point via the vehicle of your connection. Plenty of lessons in love and partnership. Shaman's asteroid is bringing them forward and allowing you to share those with your loved ones in your life beyond just the connection. But what's interesting is this square to Pholus and Ceres here. This is going to facilitate a few different things. One of them is a challenge in seeing toxicity in the structure of the connection as we know it. This is going to be a time where whether you're in some format of union or in some format of separation, this is an up-leveling opportunity to take the connection to the next step, to get out of neutral in the connection, to get out of pause, to get out of status quo and really begin the process of looking at, regardless of how you identify where your connection is at, if I were to take the next step in honoring me, what structure of in the way I participate in the connection would have to change so that there's more room for me at the table where I can be more of all of me. And I'm going to be honest, I know some of you are already listening and going, well, for the structure to change, they have to change. Promise you it's not them. I promise you it's not them. I promise you it's you. There's something in your own self-honoring that if it once it shifts, it is going to open the doorway for the frequency, the vibration, the calibration of the connection itself to change. If you want to shift the way somebody's treating you, the best way to manifest that is always to shift the way you're treating yourself, first and foremost. So once that happens, that's going to allow the dynamics of the connection to transform. And that's 100% in alignment with what we saw as the union energy between now and 2027. Access, doorway to union, 100% through Aries energy. And we talked about that as we saw the divine counterparts meet up. I walked you through it and the channeled messages I released for this year. please have a listen to that if you're new. I talked about why the gateway is through Aries and the self-honoring, the self-ambition. But this is really calling some of that out at this particular time. So there is an additional energy here that's talking about a lot of motivation to get on with releasing whatever that uh, personal toxicity is and the way we're engaging in the structure of connection so that the connection can move forward. Again, if you need some help figuring out where that's at, you can always talk to me and book a reading. I can look at your chart, we can map it out. We see this opposition here to Neptune, to Juno up here in Pisces. With this opposition to Neptune, we get a lot, we have a chance, it doesn't have to go this way, but for a little bit of spiritual bypass energy, where rather than really doing the emotional work or the physical work to deal with the third dimensional changes, because some of you really do need to do things like sell a house, quit a job, start a business, situate your kids in better school situations, get into better school districts, get a new job, earn more money so that you can pay for better tuition for your kids, be financially independent from your ex, right? These are third dimensional realities that if you can get into this kind of next level autonomy for your life, you're going to find that the connection has greater magnetism and viability in the third dimension. Where you're inclined to stay in the 5D and meditate and heal and meditate and heal and meditate and heal and make no changes to the third dimension, that level of spiritual bypass is going to have you feeling quite stuck in your connection. We have moved into a segment of time where much of what is unfolding in connections through the divine feminine energy requires, and the divine masculine energy, we'll talk about that in a minute, requires more activity in the third dimension to facilitate alignment. So, if you know what you need to do this full moon, I'm sure you're going to feel it is going to put a bit of a fire under the behind to get on with it. And especially if you're living in some format of feminine energy, this is where you may find that there is a little bit of almost a cutting off from your guides or the spiritual flow of things until you have caught up in the third dimension with creating a bigger container, a more grounded container for the connection to thrive in the 3D. Okay. And that's for those of you who are in separation. It's going to be very easy with Neptune opposite Juno um, for us to all, regardless of union or separation identifications, to require a bit more effort to land in a harmonized place. That Neptune opposite Juno can really have both members of a partnership a bit on their own page, on their own fantastic voyage. So, to get into the same place, there's going to be a real need to, yes, self harmonize first and then take the opportunity to check in with your partner. Again, for those in some format of separation, this is where you may find that separation actually deepens right now. As the feminine energy in both people may begin to work its process around its true needs in the third dimension to establish a foundation for partnership. For those of you who identify in some format of union, this may be a quite testing time as you both recognize previously negotiable needs as non negotiable and find new ways to get those needs met through dialogue and trial and error together. Okay. Let's get into the divine masculine energetic fields. What's going on here? We have Jupiter in Gemini at the 17th degree with a conjunction to Mars. So, just as Venus is a lower octave of Juno, Mars is a lower octave of Jupiter, both masculine energies. All right. We see Jupiter and Mars sitting together there in Gemini. And that conjunction is really placing motivation on like level 100 in the divine masculine energetic fields. We're all going to feel it regardless of gender, but it's going to come through our interior masculine energy where there is this sense of, I need to keep my foot on the gas. I cannot slow down at this time. You may even feel at extremes agitated, irritated, as the sense of feeling an itch to get moving ramps up the closer we get to the full moon. We do see a sextile to Mercury there, who is retrograde in Leo. And this could be interpreted a few different ways, where there could be a reverting to old perspectives, old behaviors, and old ways of being. There could be a need to review certain perspectives, certain behaviors, and certain ways of being. There could also be a need to revisit previous conversations for clarification and understanding, potentially needing to replan, reschedule, renegotiate plans or contracts to create greater equality and parity in the connection. We do see this Jupiter square to Venus at this time. This can be really passionate and simultaneously really superficial. It can lack some of the thoroughness and overlooking of some of the details. They can get a bit glossed over, especially with the Mercury retrograde. Just to get things moving forward, a willingness to lean into fun and ease and the joy of a thing, the passion of a thing, and really miss some of the big picture or the fine print. It's a very ungrounded in reality type of energy for several reasons, but one of the primary being the Mercury retrograde. If you've been in any form of love triangle with your counterpart, because you're dealing with someone or they're dealing with someone, and that someone is like new on the scene or even old on the scene, at this particular kind of lunation, and I don't often like to speak on the triangles, but I do see that this is going to be a little bit of a confusing period of time. This may be a period of time where it doesn't feel like it feels like the thing to go after is fun and not have to think. And I'm going to be really honest with you. Once Mercury goes direct, that's going to be really challenging to sustain, especially as Mars pulls out of conjunction with Jupiter. If anything, I would say do the work where there is work to be done, but be honest about which work needs to get done. For some of you in the love triangle department, it's really going to be about closing out the triangle and not trying to work things out in a new place if you've got something else going on. For others of you, it's going to be closing out the triangle in the old place because you really are well and truly done so that the new thing can thrive. Know which camp you're in. Okay. We also see here a trine to Chariclo in Aquarius. Aquarius, here we have trine to Chariclo in Aquarius. And that's going to bring a lot of blessing for those who can do really some high quality communication, do really good communication, and have a willingness to revisit actions, revisit explanations, work in a trial and error fashion. For some who are identifying in some format of union, as we move through this full moon in Aquarius, there may be some old, repetitive, redundant issues that come up between the two of you. What I can say is that if you find you're beating a dead horse around something, the option may not necessarily be best to break up, but you may recognize that you've run out of tools and that you cannot move forward until there's new tools in your toolbox around hearing each other out, conflict management, new ways to resolve some of the older problems. I want to make sure that I say that because breaking up during a Mercury retrograde is kind of like table stakes for a guarantee that you're going to get back together and just have to deal with the problem later. So might as well just talk through it now and figure out, okay, Where is the missing information that is causing us to find ourselves in certain communication ruts so that we can get out of them once and for all? What is it that I need to know or be able to do? What is it you need to know or be able to do? Where are the resources for that? I've laid out a lot of resources in the Tools for Union playlist, introduced you guys to some great coaches. I've talked about a lot of extraordinary coaches in relationship here on this channel and tools and resources. If there's been one in the back of your mind, like, you know what, I really need to get on with that. Now is the time to do it so that the relationship has a better chance of thriving. Your masculine energy, again, regardless of gender, your interior masculine energy has the motivation to lean into it now. So I would get on with it. Okay. With Cheroklo in the mix, there is a lot of blessing for taking new action in the world of communication. So, this is why, if you've got some old stuff coming up with Mercury retrograde, finding a new way to respond is actually going to serve the connection rather than trying to rehash the same old conversation. But you may need some new tools to get there. We do see a square from the divine masculine energy to this Saturn Nessus conjunction here in Pisces. That combo um, is going to really heighten focus and discipline and help ground some of this energy because it's a T square with Venus up here. So we've got Venus in Virgo, we've got Mars and Jupiter in Gemini, and then we've got Saturn and Nessus in Pisces. And then there's no occupation of anything at the sign that's at the 90-degree angle in Sagittarius. We've got nothing there at that 19th mid degree there. We ourselves have to lean into Sagittarius energy in order to get the benefit of this. And what is Sagittarius energy? It's about leaning into truth, faith, and optimism. In your masculine energy, where you are finding that you've hit a wall or a ceiling and how far you can go with the information you have in present time, this is when it's time to reach out for help. Whether it's a coach or a therapist, or you can talk to me, an astrologer, or someone who better understands where you are stuck and has broken through to the other side. You want to have that conversation during this Mercury retrograde because this is what's going to help unlock your masculine energy, is being willing to learn with a teacher that can show you, here's the vision, here's where you can go. Again, teachers and vision are governed here by Sagittarius. So you want to lean into that at this full moon. We also see a sextile from Chiron and Eris to Jupiter and Mars. And this can cause some problems with some friends, potentially giving some unhelpful advice. There can also be a resetting of the connection toward self honoring through a pathway of self acceptance first. For those of you who identify in some format of separation, this is where you may find that this time draws both of you significantly deeper into your personal development work. But for those of you in some format of union, this is where you may find, okay, the two of us, we can't keep rotating around the same issues and landing in the same place. We need to get some support. And now is the time to do it. So, um, that's what I have for this full moon for the Divine Counterpart Collective. I'd love to know how this is impacting you in the comments below. If you do need some support from and guidance from the blueprint of your natal chart, especially when it comes to harmonizing, if you're in a couple and you want to better understand, why does she communicate like that? Why does he operate like that? Like, why does he do this? Why does she need that? Why does she do the following thing? Your chart can really help you understand how the two of you support and serve one another and what each other needs. And also, it can help you understand why the other person needs the things that they need so that you can be on the same page. You can book a reading with me, a couples reading under relationship readings for two people who are coming together. It is a 90-minute session. I do not offer anything below that for two people who are coming together. If you are going to come solo, I strongly recommend the personal reading at this time. There are so many pieces of your pieces of the pie, given everything that's unfolding at this new moon and with the eclipses, that have to change to better understand how the you that you need to be for your union to unfold. That for you, I would say a personal reading is going to serve you best. So you can also book that under personal readings over at kmonastro.com. The access point to union is there in your chart. You don't necessarily need another person's chart to understand that. kmonastro.com link is below this video. And I look forward to inviting you all very shortly to the union workshop. It's going to be an opportunity to learn some new ways through spirituality and faith of stepping into greater access to union. It's going to really serve those of you who are in some format of separation. Okay. I really look forward to hearing your comments below this video and speaking to you in a personal reading very soon. Thank you so much for every like, every subscribe, and every share. And those really support the channel and help its growth. When you like, you comment, you subscribe, and you share, it helps it circulate. And I'll also say, I have opened up my PayPal link below if you'd like to make a donation to the channel. Tip me a coffee. That would be amazing. Every little bit helps me continue to produce this content for you. The link to do that is below this video. Thank you so much. Take great care and bye for now.